Today begins the first phase of the EWT project. It is a call to action to all the problem solvers out there that want a better understanding of our universe. And I'd like to start first with how you're watching this video. You hear me due to sound waves that are interpreted by your ears. And you can see me due to light that is transferred from your screen to your eyes. Light also travels as waves, right? With different frequencies being the different colors that we see. So let's zoom in now to see how this works. Let's start with sound waves, right? It's a vibration of molecules in a medium, such as air molecules that vibrate parallel to the direction of wave motion. Now this is known as a longitudinal wave, which you see illustrated here. You can't see air molecules without the help of a powerful microscope, but we know that they exist, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be able to breathe. Let's move on to light. Right? Light is an electromagnetic wave. The vibration is perpendicular, in this case, to the direction of wave motion, and that's known as a transverse wave, also illustrated. In this case, there's no microscope that is powerful enough to see the medium that allows electromagnetic waves to flow through space. And that becomes a problem because without understanding the substance of space, it's difficult to model its behavior. And that's the core of the first phase of the EWT project. It's to understand at the smallest scales of the universe how these waves flow. In short, what is the universe made of? i.e., what is space-time? And what is matter, such as the particles that are illustrated here? And what causes the motion of that matter, which is known as forces? What causes those forces? And so in the last video, I introduced the objective of the EWT project, and I'm going to state it just quickly again. Right, is to simulate the creation of particles and atoms and matter with classical physics, illustrating that the universe indeed operates under a single set of classical laws. But now we get more specific, introducing the objectives of phase 1. To form and explain waves in space-time, to form the smallest matter particle, the neutrino, to calculate wave interference and explain the motion of particles. And in the last video, I also introduced the EWT Contest, where each phase will have prizes awarded to one winner and one runner-up. For phase 1, it's $2,500 and $500 US respectively. Now there are two possible paths to take to enter a submission for the contest. A developer may choose to extend the existing quantum microscope for Blender, or build something new. Either way, they have to meet the project requirements, which will be introduced later in this video. But first, I'm going to do a demo of the current functionality that exists for the Blender add-on, which is helpful for developers choosing either of these paths. So this is Blender, and then assuming you've installed the Quantum Microscope add-on, click on View right here, and then Sidebar. Right? Now, if you haven't installed it, there's a URL in the video description that points you to instructions to download it. Okay, but once the sidebar is open, assuming you've installed it, this is what you want right here. That's how you know you've got the Q-scope or Quantum Microscope add-on. This is the add-on, multiple modules, but we are going to focus on space-time, which matches the first phase of this project. And I'm going to click Run Space. I've already configured this, and I'm going to click on Run Space-time because we're going to start with a one-dimensional view that was illustrated earlier as a transverse wave. Here you can see the motion. Right, is perpendicular to wave propagation. Now there's two waves in this case from the edges going towards the center, but the direction of motion of each of these granules is perpendicular. That's a transverse wave. Now it's actually kind of hard to see these waves, so there's a second view here, granular view or wave view. It's analogous to, let's say, looking at an ocean and we see a solid or maybe fluid-like structure. We don't actually see the water molecules moving around, so let's get that view going. And then you are definitely going to notice wave patterns. Again, waves being generated from the edges going towards the center. Because this is Blender, all the ability to kind of pan around and zoom in and out, see different views. But what we want to focus on right now is these waves that are being generated that are going to be converging in a second here at the center. And watch what happens when they do. That's constructive wave interference. So wave amplitude in this case becomes greater as these waves merge. Now it's still just 1D view, so I'm going to switch this back to granular view, And let's now switch to two-dimensional view. There's also a property here, I'm not going to change it, called grid length. That's going to increase the size of the universe. Increasing either the number of dimensions or the size here, grid length, does make it takes longer to set up, and also the runtime performance is slower. Why? Because there's more of these things, the granules to have to be able to calculate. So I've kept it rather small right now to keep this higher performing. And what you can see here is waves being propagated from the edges moving towards the center, but I'm still in a two-dimensional view here. It's rather a flat universe. I'm going to change it now because we live in a three-dimensional universe. Let's also, and we're also made of particles or atoms. I'm going to reconfigure this for a three-dimensional view. Takes a little bit to set up. Like I said, it's a little bit longer for three-dimensional, but I've kept it a smaller universe. But we'll process this, and here now it's configured a three-dimensional cube. Zoom in and out. Again, let's get that recentered. Same thing, the waves are being propagated from the edges and moving towards the center. You can see the motion of these. Each one should be affecting the next one and forming waves. Now, particles. Particles are known to have wave-particle duality, and thus the neutrino, which is about to be simulated here, is one of those particles. It's both a particle and yet waves at the same time, which is very curious, but can be explained with something such as this. So there we go. Right there in the middle is a standing wave. And I know it's a little bit hard to know and understand what a standing wave is. I'm going to switch to a different view in a second. But using Blender, I can hide certain things or show certain things. In this case, I'm just going to put a shell right around where those standing waves are. What's a standing wave? Well, a standing wave has energy, but there's no net propagation of energy. It's a wave that's coming in and out at the same time. And as a result, when they're equal, it's stored energy. And that's what we're modeling here as matter, as particles. They're still made of waves, and it is still a particle, but it's standing waves. As I mentioned earlier, it's difficult to visualize 3D waves, so I've reverted back to the 2D solid view, and it's to illustrate waves converging at a center point, creating standing waves. Now, first, let's look at this, traveling waves. Notice that the wave amplitude changes its position, where it peaks. So these are traveling waves. The middle is a little bit different. Let's zoom in right here. It's still hard to see even with zooming in, but that peak right there is a standing wave. It's constantly moving up and down, and the easiest way to see this is I'm going to turn off everything else except for this. That's the center. That peak right there is moving up and down. It's not left to right. It's not traveling. You can actually see it from the bottom there. That peak comes down and comes up. Same position in space. That's a standing wave. And again, that neutrino shell that I drew earlier is just surrounding where standing wave energy is located. Let's turn space-time back on again, and you can see the whole thing again. So traveling waves at the edges, standing waves there in the center. Now that's a scenario, though, where wave amplitude is equal from all sides. Let's look at a different scenario. I'm going to go back to granular view. And let's run a 2D space-time where we see motion, right? So what happens if there is a force on a particle because the wave amplitude is greater on one side than the other? That's what causes motion, right? It's analogous to, let's say, a ball floating in the middle of the ocean. Which way is it going to move to? It'll move to the area of less energy or less wave amplitude, minimal wave amplitude. And that's motion and forces. Now, but how to calculate that? Because in the universe there would be many different waves being reflected from multiple particles. Let's start simple here, and let's just add, I'm going to go back to wave view. Actually, it's easier to see. Let's add 2 particles. Because if the waves are being reflected off of particles traveling through space-time, then you'll expect to see something like this. See those peaks there where it is constructive wave interference. I can run that again. Maybe with this it's random placement, by the way, so you'll see, oh, they're still kind of separated, not too far apart. But let's do this. Let's change this grid length now, make that a larger universe. These are all random positions where it starts, but let's do something where we add an antiparticle. Now these particles that are formed of standing wave energy are identical in terms of their energy that's in here and their size. The only difference is the placement on the wave. That takes some explanation. Right, a standing wave is a wave, an in wave and an out wave of same energy, so it's net zero energy. But there are two placements in each wavelength where there are what's called zero amplitude or standing wave nodes. And they happen to be 180-degree phase difference from each other, which is antiphase. And so basically the way this is modeled is one particle colored here different than the other particle means that it is on the opposite wave phase. Therefore, they are antimatter particles. Now, I just ran that for a couple of particles in two-dimensional view, but again, we live in a three-dimensional universe, so I'm going to finish this off now in a three-dimensional view. And let's go back to granules as well. It does take a little bit more time, as I mentioned, to do a three-dimensional view, especially as you get to larger sizes of the universe, because there's just more stuff to calculate. But what we're about to see is going to be a little bit probably closer to reality, which is a three-dimensional view. And here we go. So again, I can zoom in and out. I can pan around from multiple different angles. You can see that it is a cube, but also you can see that as these waves are being generated from the particles, they begin to affect more and more and more. And right now these are stationary, but you start to see even the ones where my cursor is beginning to have energy transferred. And that's the way that wave interference, works, as it transfers energy, as it propagates throughout space. But phase of the wave becomes the difference that either repels particles or attracts them. That's a quick overview of the Spacetime module in the Quantum Microscope add-on. What I just demoed is a helpful explanation of the EWT model for particles and forces, but the physics using Blender is incomplete. If a developer chooses to extend the Blender add-on, there are at least 3 notable issues that need to be corrected. Particle collisions are not accurate, standing waves are not forming from reflections, and the constructive wave interference that I was showing is not 100% accurate. All 3 of these issues are actually a result of using Blender's wave modifier, and thus either it needs to be corrected or maybe another method can be substituted instead. A README file in the project source code provides more details on all of these issues. Now, a second path may be chosen instead, which is to start from scratch and build a new simulator. In this option, any development platform may be chosen by the developer, and any name may be given to it as long as it follows the requirements for Phase 1. These requirements are documented in the EWT project, which is linked here, but I'm also going to place the link in the video description for easy clicking. And lastly, here are the key dates. The project is now open for competition, and I'd sincerely appreciate any help solving the remaining issues and reaching the objective to model particles with classical physics. The source code for both repositories, including the Blender add-on or the custom simulator as basically stubs, have been set up on GitHub. Now, the requirements for Phase 1 are completed in addition to contest rules and instructions, and all of these are linked from the main EWT project homepage. The deadline for submissions for Phase 1 is November 1st. And then there's going to be a 2-week period for judges to review the submissions, and then the winners are expected to be announced right around November 15th, coinciding with the start of Phase 2 of this project. And for that EWT homepage URL, here it is. I hope you have a great day.